I just came back from a 10-day Vipassana retreat, and I wanted to sit down and talk a little bit about what it is and what I felt I gained from doing this experience. Both for my own sake, to be able to save these memories and be able to see after a few years what I thought right after I went to this kind of retreat for the first time. And also to be able to share with friends, and of course also sharing it with everyone that is following this channel and with the general YouTube audience. If you have no idea what Vipassana or a Vipassana 10-day course is, then I will just give you a brief background. Vipassana is a meditation technique that is very, very old. It's been around for about 2,500 years, and it was kind of popularized during the last 100 years by a teacher called Uba Khin and then by Mr. S.N. Goenka that learned from Uba Khin and then started spreading Vipassana meditation around the world. The only way that you can learn Vipassana meditation is to go to one of these 10-day courses. There are Vipassana meditation centers all around the world. You sign up for a 10-day course in one of these centers, and then when you go there, you don't pay anything for the course. You don't pay anything for the food and the lodging. You are able to make a donation towards future participants, but it's not a requirement. However, at least in Sweden, the hard part about this is to actually get accepted to the course. The demand for the spots at the courses is crazy high. So the first time I applied to get into one of these courses was about 6 years ago. I had a bunch of friends that had been doing this kind of Vipassana retreats, and I thought it was an interesting concept. I wanted to try it. I registered. I wasn't allocated a space at the course, and then I kind of forgot about it for many years. Now, a few months ago, when I decided to quit my freelance contracts and just take a break from work, which I haven't done in a very long time, then it just popped up in my mind, oh, actually, I should probably do one of these silent meditation retreats. By doing that, I would probably really be able to get a bit deeper into my mind and try to at least find some seeds of what it is I want to do next and what it is I really want to do, because I've been on this digital marketing consultancy path for the last 10-11 years and never really thought about if that is what I actually want to do or if I want to do something else. So I registered again back in summer of 2019, and I wasn't accepted that time either. In Scandinavia, there's about 2 times more applications than there are spots at the respective course. So you will probably have to apply a few times if you want to get accepted. And I looked at a few of the centers, for example, in the UK and in the US, and it seems to be very full in general. So you have to have a little bit of luck and a bit of faith and just register a few times to be accepted. So for me, when I was out on my Interrail trip in the autumn of 2019, I tried again for the 3rd time. And after a week from registering, then I finally got the email that I was accepted to the course, starting at January the 22nd and finishing on February the 2nd. So then I had a few months in between, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do during that time. Pretty soon after I got back from my Interrail trip, me and my girlfriend since 13 years back decided that we should break up. And that kind of changed everything I thought about the upcoming months quite a bit. I decided to stay in Gothenburg for 1 month and just finish up some of the stuff that I was doing in Gothenburg, and then go to Stockholm and spend 1 month in Stockholm before heading to the retreat. The first month after the breakup, I was just trying to put pieces together of my other parts of life. I just needed to make my workshops in digital marketing work, and I wanted to make sure that I had some kind of income, even though I'd quit all my regular freelance clients. So I didn't really process the breakup that much. I had a bit of an emotional breakdown in the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And then I decided that now it is time that I really find out what I want to do and how I can be able to love myself and treat myself really well. So I worked on that and pretty much only that. So treating myself well was my only focus during the whole month of January. I think that was a really good step to prepare myself for going into the Vipassana retreat and then being able to face whatever would come up during 10 days of no communication and no talking. So I mentioned a few of these rules and regulations on the retreat, so I'm just going to recap what it is that you're doing at the retreat. Basically, you are there for a 10-day course with a very intense schedule. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You start meditating at 4:30 until 6:30. Then you have breakfast and a bit of rest. There is a group meditation followed by a short break and then instructions and then more of your own practice. At 11 o'clock every day there is lunch, and then it's a little bit of a longer break until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you restart again with your own practice. You have a group meditation sitting, more instructions, followed by more of your own practice. Then there is a break at 5 o'clock for tea and fruit. If you've taken the course before, you only get fruit juice at this break, no actual food. And after a break there, we have the last group meditation of the evening, a little break. There is an evening discourse, which is sort of like a class where you talk more about the philosophy and about the technique and how to apply it in everyday life. And then it wraps up with a short meditation session with some more instructions, which you can start applying the next day when you start with your own practice in the morning at 4:30. Also, there are a few rules that you are committing to during the time when you are there. No killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no use of intoxicants. To be able to follow the part about not lying and also to be able to focus on yourself and your own practice, all of the Vipassana courses are silent. So you are meditating in silence, eating in silence, and have your free time in silence. And it is called noble silence, which means you are not allowed to talk, you are not allowed to have eye contact, you are not allowed to have any physical contact or make gestures to communicate with any other meditator. However, if you have questions about the practice, you are allowed to ask the teacher questions 2 times per day. Also, there is one contact person, and you can talk to this person if there's any practical questions about food or accommodation or other issues that could arise during the time. I was staying in a room where we were 2 people staying, so you are actually not physically alone. I was very often together with the other guy that I was staying with, but we were never actively communicating. We were just there in each other's presence. Same thing goes for, of course, the group meditations. You are a lot of people meditating together. For dinners, you sit together, but you're not actually communicating with each other. I was almost sure before I went to the retreat that the silence part would not be a very big problem for me. And that was pretty much exactly how it was. I didn't feel like being silent and not having the opportunity to communicate with people was a problem any time during the retreat. It was a little hard in the beginning to get used to not saying good morning to the person you were staying in the same room with, or just showing that someone could go before you in a line, or just saying thank you when someone did something nice for you. But not having to communicate with people constantly is actually a very big relief, and it leaves you with a lot of kind of mental space for other things than just thinking about communication constantly. On top of that, I thought the most interesting thing about the non-communication parts is that it kind of dissolves any opportunity for groups being made and like social dynamics being played out. It's way harder for anyone to have someone that every day they want to sit by the same person for dinner, or every day they want to have this exact seat at breakfast. Because if someone else has taken that seat, they can't say anything about it, and if they would get angry or annoyed about it, it would only affect themselves on the inside. I definitely fell prey for that a few times, where I thought that some people were a little bit annoying for one reason or the other, and I was starting to build up some frustration about it. But since I couldn't act it out, I just had to realize after a while that the only person I'm hurting by starting to build up this frustration is myself. So I have to let go of it, otherwise I'm just gonna hurt myself in this experience because I'm frustrated with someone else, and that's their thing, it's not mine. On top of the silence part, you also have to avoid doing any other forms of religion or rites or rituals. And also you can't do any workout, any yoga, any reading or writing, or anything with music, for example, listening to music or playing or singing. All of that stuff you pause during the 10 days that you are at the course to be able to solely focus on your meditation practice and get as much value as possible out of it. My experience, I would say, was divided into 3 different parts. The first part was when you begin to learn the technique and you begin to learn how to sharpen the mind with the first meditation technique that is used in the course. Then I actually could not feel anything except the physical pain of sitting down. I've always had a bit of problem with my upper back and parts of my lower back, and I have had big issues with sitting down on floors or just sitting down on a pillow. And it has shown off, for example, when you have like a performance at a dance event and you want to sit down and watch the performance, and I have to change positions several times, even if it's just a few minutes of sitting down. And this was super painful, like properly painful all the time through meditating the first few days. I was quite determined to get through the pain, but I think the way I handled it was more avoiding the physical pain and trying to put my focus onto something else, instead of actually being with the pain, feeling it, and trying to get through it, and accepting that it was there and that it was probably gonna be there. But sort of successfully I managed to be able to get around the pain, but still a lot of pain if I didn't change my position every 5 or sometimes every 10 minutes. On the 4th day, after we were introduced to the main meditation technique, the actual Vipassana technique, there was also one new rule put into place. When we have the group sittings 3 times per day, we are gonna sit for 1 hour straight without changing position, without moving hands and feet, and without opening our eyes. And I had been changing posture every 5 minutes before that. I was shocked when I heard it, but there was really no time to think about it, because it was like, now we're gonna do this sitting of strong determination, let's go. And then it was the first sitting. I managed to sit through that 1 hour without changing my position, moving hands or feet, or opening my eyes. And after that session, I flew out of the meditation hall and thought that literally, if this was possible, anything in the world would be possible for me. There's no limit to what I would be able to create if I could sit 1 whole hour, when before I decided to do it, it was only 5 or 10 minutes that was possible. The day after, I managed to sit through all the 3 group sittings without changing posture or opening my eyes. But the day after, I had kind of realized that I was more avoiding the pain and trying to think away the pain. So I decided that the day after, I wouldn't avoid the pain, but I would actually be with the pain and not try to think around it. And then in the end of the session, I really couldn't sit through the pain. I had to switch posture about 10 minutes before that session finished. I was a little bit disappointed when it happened, but at the same time I'd really pushed myself to think that I was actually doing the right thing finally to sit with the pain instead of avoiding the pain. And the next session and the next session after that, I did the same thing, and then finally I felt like the pain started to become manageable. Like actually manageable. I didn't avoid it, I just realized that it was there, accepted that it was there, and that I had to work with the body that I have. Like I can't just make it go away, that's not gonna work long term. The next day was a really big up and down kind of roller coaster for me. I had a really bad night's sleep after that day when I couldn't sit through the morning sitting. And then I was super tired at the first meditation sittings in the morning. I started feeling like kind of discouraged that now I got through this physical pain, but now what? What is happening now? Like now I have gone through the most tangible and most obvious kind of pain or sensation in the body, and what should be the next step? And I was like building up some kind of frustration around this, and I couldn't really like be with what would be the next step. And towards the afternoon and the evening, I had like really bad group sittings where I was actually just getting annoyed with the whole concept. I kind of felt that I'd accomplished a big thing, being able to get through the physical pain. I don't know, I didn't really know what would be the next step, and it built up some kind of frustration in me. Then also I built up some annoyance around the fact that now I've been here for 8 full days. This was on the 8th day. And I don't want to be here anymore because it's all the same. Every single day is the same. I don't want to be with people that I can't even say hi to. I don't want to listen to these speeches because it feels like it's a very sectarian thing to sit together and listen to this speech. I had a lot of those thoughts, like a lot of different kind of thoughts of doubt and a lot of resistance, I think, to actually push through to what could come in the next step. So during the very, very last 20-minute sitting and instructions of that day, I decided that during tomorrow, I'm gonna really move myself out of this little phase of resistance, and I'm gonna push through the 9th day and really try to see what I can make happen by properly using this technique now that I'm out of the physical pain. And the 9th day was 100% the best day that I had of the whole retreat. It was hard because I made a lot of realizations about myself, but now on an emotional level, on a behavioral level, not anything that was related to physical pain. And I started like putting together bits and pieces of my previous relationships. I started having memories from like childhood and way back in time that started popping up, and I could relive the memories, like I could feel as if I was in that setting, which is something that I think the combination of going deep into your brain and also sharpening your senses gives the brain the possibility to pop up a memory and then relive the memory almost as if you were there in that very moment. This was a very healing and kind of soothing experience, and I'm super happy that I was able to go through some of those kind of bad memories from the past and start digesting them, because before I would say that mainly I've just tried to push them away. Like anything bad happens, any negative thing happen, I try to push it down, and then I lock it into a box and I throw away the key. Pretty much that's what I've done like year after year after year. And now I feel like I finally started getting a tool to kind of unlock those boxes and starting to be able to look at what was in and not fear what I would feel and fear what would happen if I actually went through and processed all of those things that I really didn't want to process when they have happened. So I felt during the 9th day that I was in the middle of a really like interesting and important process. And the day after, around lunchtime, the vow of silence was gonna break. So then people would be starting to talk again. Then social dynamics would start to form again. And I was like, please don't make this stop now. I would like to have at least 1 or 2 more days to be able to dig deeper into this that I started digging into during the 9th day. But this is not up to me. So the day after a little ceremony, then the silence was broken. And I could finally say hi to my roommate and the people that I'd been sitting next to, meditating for about 90 hours in total. I never said hi to them. I didn't even know if they were Swedish or if they were from somewhere else. I didn't know if they were nice or if they would annoy me. I had no idea about who they were and how they were. It was a bit of a shock to start talking again after 9 days of not saying a single word except asking a few questions about the technique to the teacher. But it was also quite fine, and after some readjustment, I also realized during the meditation sessions there that even though I had been speaking to people a little bit, I could still keep up the practice and still go pretty deep into the things that I had started during that 9th day. So I was really happy after the 10th day finished, and I realized that if I could do this, even though I'm talking with people here, I can absolutely continue this practice and continue working on these things when I get back home or get back to my normal everyday life. You don't need a retreat setting to be able to work on stuff. The retreat setting is mainly just a way to be able to focus as much as possible, to be able to reach as far as possible and make it as fruitful as possible. After the 10th day, in which we were allowed to talk to each other, the course was over and we left the retreat center after doing some cleaning and saying goodbye to some of the people that we connected a little bit more with. My original plan was to go straight from the meditation center to Stockholm. But I realized there in the end that this would be a little bit too much of a culture shock to just get back into the big city, and especially to reach Stockholm Central Station and having to get from the national trains into the metro and get further on to my sister where I was gonna stay. So I changed my plans, changed my train ticket, and went to my parents that live in the middle of the woods, sort of on the countryside, to be able to have some kind of decompression period. I was staying there for about 24 hours or so, and then I continued to Stockholm. And now I'm about to make my way to London. So I had a dream for a long time that I wanted to move to London, and today is happening. I'm moving to London. I'm gonna be staying in Hackney, and I'm gonna be dancing and DJing a lot in the London swing dance community, as well as keeping on meditating. I really wanted to get into meditation and make this a practice I use in my daily life. I tried to get it into my morning routine, doing like 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes of meditation. But I had a really hard time to do it well, and I had a really hard time to kind of feel that it made a difference for me. Signing up for Vipassana now was very much a way for me to get into the habit of actually meditating. So I had made a pretty firm decision that I want to keep on meditating after the course was done. After going through this retreat, both seeing that my body can handle it, what I can get from it in terms of processing memories and emotional things that you kind of pushed away in the back far subconscious mind, I feel very inspired to keep on meditating and doing a meditation sitting at least every morning, but probably every morning and every evening as well. Just when I got out of the retreat center, I was looking up group meditation sittings in London. And I realized then that a place where you can sit for a group meditation every evening, and you can also go there and practice yourself 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, and that's 3 minutes by bike from the house where I'm gonna stay. That was kind of a little sign that I should keep on doing this practice, and that I should keep working with my body, working with my brain, working with my mind, and see where that can take me. I also think it's pretty important to start acknowledging when and where in life that you'd actually need meditation and the results that you can get from meditation to be able to make a positive change in your life. And I've had a few occasions where it's been very obvious that this is making me act and react in a different way. One example is from the actual retreat when I was at breakfast and I was gonna put oat milk on my porridge, and someone hadn't closed the lid to the oat milk properly. I picked up the oat milk and just by habit shake it before I'm gonna pour, and when I'm shaking it, it's just flying out oat milk all over my hand, all over my shirt, all over the bench where I was, over the floor. This is a typical situation where I would have snapped before. I would be so annoyed both at myself for not checking and also at the person who didn't close that lid, and about the whole situation that now I have to clean up. And once I've cleaned up, I just didn't do anything. I just restored my stupid mistake that I did, and I also wasted some of this milk that we could have been drinking instead, and so on and so forth. Like just kind of running in circles about like just negative thoughts about what I had just done. And I was really able to quickly move my attention back to the fact that this was not a very big deal. I could just put that oat milk back, take some paper cloth and just clean off the stuff that I had spilled, throw it away, close the lid, shake it again, put it on my porridge, and then continue with my breakfast, and not feel so crazy bad about it. A feeling that could last for sometimes like hours or maybe even a full day, just because it's like a shock, a tiny shock when it happens, and then I start this kind of blame game in my brain. Then when I came back, I had another interesting example yesterday. I was sitting by my computer and I was gonna work out some pretty important details on a contract that I was gonna sign. I was gonna send an email because I'd asked a few questions, but I didn't get a reply during 2 days. And I was like, okay, 2 days is a little too long to not reply. I need to send another email and just say, is it all clear? Like, is everything good or something like this? When I typed the email, I realized that, oh, actually, if I wasn't so damn scared of making phone calls, a normal person, if I was a normal person that wasn't frightened of making phone calls, probably I would just pick up the phone and call this person instead to be able to ask my questions and then ask if everything was possible to proceed the way I wanted it to proceed. And I picked up my phone and I started entering the numbers, and I had this almost like shaking anxiety inside my chest from just entering each number. And this is like, I would never ever have made that kind of phone call just 6 months back. Like 100% I would not have made the phone call. And if I would have made it, I would just have felt so bad in the kind of process of charging up the energy to be able to make the phone call happen. It would be probably a few days of having it in a to-do list and then procrastinating again and not making it happen. Now I entered the phone number, I pressed call, I felt like a lot of emotional turmoil inside, but it wasn't the end of the world. And when the guy picked up, he was super friendly. I got through the questions, I got through to where I wanted it to go, and everything was fine. After that, I had a similar feeling to when I was able to sit through that 1 hour meditation sitting without changing posture. If I could do this, that I would never have been able to do before, then I could probably do so many other things where I just keep limiting my brain and just think that I can't do it because it feels too bad. Like, screw if it feels too bad. If the end result is good, maybe some things will have to feel a little bit bad, and you still have to go through them and realize that you feel bad, maybe you feel bad physically or you feel bad mentally, but you can go through it. And just being able to tell myself that and then go through with the action and then realize it wasn't that bad and I got the end result that I wanted, that was a really empowering experience. If this continues, if I start to put experiences like this together and I'm able to actively change myself one tiny little decision or tiny path that I take at a time, then this will be able to make some proper change into my life, and I would be able to start steering my life into the direction where I actually want it to go and feel good about it and feel that I actually deserve to have the kind of life that I want to have and that I would like to have for a long time. If you have any questions about Vipassana meditation, you can find more answers on Dhamma.org. I will post a link in the description below. And also, if you have any questions for me about my experience, or you just want to get in touch to talk more about this, then just post a comment in the comment section below, and I will make sure to reply as quickly as possible. I'm W2Best. I make videos about tech, travel, and inspiration, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.